I'm here with the ambassador from the United States to Morocco, and that is Mr. Ambassador Thomas Riley. He's actually from Palo Alto, our neck of the woods, so it's really wonderful to be here with him. And Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Sure, it's a pleasure. Happy to be here.
Now, you've been the ambassador for a little over a year now, and you live in Morocco, in Rabat, which is the capital. How do you find life here in Morocco?
Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's actually very similar to California in lots of ways. It has almost exactly the same size, has almost exactly the same population, has similar geography, similar even products, agricultural products, sort of mountains like Lake Tahoe and coastline like the coastline of California. Of course, the people are very different, and we have to remember we're not in California, we're in Africa, and we're in a Muslim country, we're in an Arab country, and we're in a country with lots of connections to Europe, and with very, very, very long traditions of knowledge, of trade, of commerce, and so it's just wonderful. I couldn't think of a better place to be posted.
It's so wonderful for us to meet you and your wife today, and to see not only that you're California ex-residents, and I'm sure you'll go back to California at some time, but also to see that you've joined us. And we've, of course, come with this group from Chicago, and these are young ambassadors, we call them, as they're teenagers, and they've made pen pals with the group, the high school children here in Morocco. What did you find here when you saw this group? Was that amazing to you? I know it has been for us.
Oh, I think it's just wonderful. I've actually participated in video conferences between these two high schools where we were comparing some of our U.S. holidays. It was Halloween at the time, and some of the Islamic religious holidays. And the kids were asking each other questions and asking for emails and beginning to have individual connections. And I think I was so impressed by today, and I wish we could do more of these exchanges, because that really is accurate to say that this is. They're really the ambassadors. I may be the official ambassador, but there's only so much I can do, meeting with the press and meeting with the government officials and going out into the country. But it is a very, very powerful way to learn about another culture through individual contact. So the opportunity for some of the young people to really meet, even if it's short sentences and sometimes some language barriers, to exchange, to ask some questions, to get up the nerve to ask some of the things they're really thinking. We heard that in the United States everyone goes to church every day. We've heard that you can't date. Exchanges back and forth, and it's just wonderful because there are a lot of stereotypes that we have of each other, and the only way to break those down is not from a magazine article that you're probably not going to read, but it's really human contact. So I do think of them as our best ambassadors.
I agree, too. Watching these young people has just been remarkable for this week. And as you said, too, it's very important for our politicians to be ambassadors, but also to start at home, as we believe, too, that extending your hand in friendship and revering the environment and celebrating the diversity. And what a great place to come and celebrate diversity, isn't it?
Well, and this is one of the extraordinary things about Morocco is that Morocco has a young king who is very progressive, very reform-minded. He's already taken a huge number of steps for the rights of women, for the rights of children. Morocco is one of the few countries that really prides itself in an openness. It's mostly Muslim. It's almost 98% Muslim, but there are Catholic churches that are practicing here. There are Jewish synagogues, and they're proud of that. They're proud of the tradition to say, ultimately, it is one God, and we are open to that. And I think that's wonderful. And the things that he is doing to emphasize education and opportunity for young people, not without a little bit of pressure from his brother nations throughout North Africa and the Middle East. So he's really a regional example. And is sticking his neck out to take these really very courageous reforms. And so it's not only an interesting country with a wonderful people, but really moving in some wonderful ways to the benefit of its citizens.
Besides the children coming here, and which has been wonderful, it's been organized just beautifully. What is your message for people coming into Morocco, especially from the United States? What would you tell them as they plan their trip?
Well, it's a tough thing because we have, if you go to our official embassy website, like throughout the United States, there are travel warnings and watch out for this and watch out for that. And so officially that becomes our way of welcoming people, which is not a great way to welcome people, but you have to be cautious. I live here with my wife. We have 100 Americans that we hire at the embassy. There's several thousand throughout the country, all of whom feel wonderful and feel very comfortable. My daughter's coming from college this summer to live with us, as she did last summer, and of course we have more house guests than we expected. But everyone leaves with a story. We had no idea how wonderful this country was, how wonderful the weather was, how much cultural history there is, and it's too bad. And of course, this is like many countries. It doesn't have the budget to really promote it, and it is a long way. It's a long way from California. But it's not that far from the East Coast. You know, it's about a 5-hour trip. Maybe 6 hours, and so it's not that far away. But we try to encourage people. Unfortunately, these days you have to do it with the warning that it's, you have to be careful when you're traveling internationally anywhere.
You know, just talking a little bit about the travel warnings from the United States, just how accurate do you think they are? And are they and we talk to a lot of countries who are concerned that perhaps the U.S. travel warnings are a little bit elevated, maybe too extreme. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think the problem is that everything's under a microscope. So this is an Arab country, and we, part of our job one of my most important jobs is to watch out for the safety of Americans. What I find interesting is that we have had very little incidents. You know, maybe 1 or 2 cases of a robbery. We did have 1 death in the last almost 2 years. And of course that gets publicized and it gets spread. But this is a country of 30 million people that has millions of visitors every year. If you put any city in the United States under the same scrutiny, you'd say, don't go to Cincinnati because, you know, there were 5 killings last year, or there was such and such. And so I think it's a little unfair. We have such a heightened awareness of a situation that it really, in my opinion, exaggerates it beyond what would be normal caution.
Well, we hope that we can help take that message that you believe in so much. It's that, you know, making sure that Americans have a great opportunity here, a great experience here, and that they are safe here. And I know from our experience, it's just been incredibly warm and friendly. People have been just outreaching to us, wanting to know more about our lifestyles. And of course, we've been doing the same. So what a great thing for young kids. I'm really just so excited about this.
Right. Yeah. If I could add one more thing, one of the things is that, of course, politically speaking, there is a lot of disagreement with some of our positions, our official administrative positions in the Middle East. They don't feel that we're fair to the Arab side. Most are not happy with what's going on in Iraq. They're certainly optimistic, but they weren't happy with what we did. And what I find wonderful is that despite what they would consider differences with our official position in terms of the government administration, they have a wonderful, warm feeling for Americans, and they're able to really separate that. They say, you know, I don't agree with what's going on with some of your leaders in Washington, but we love Americans. We all have wonderful stories, and we're happy to welcome you here. And that's, you know, that's encouraging. And if we can keep it that way, we're not trying to get everybody to agree with everything. We can't do it in the United States. We're certainly not going to do it here.
Exactly.
But to be able to keep that wonderful, warm feeling about Americans and our values. And I just met with one of the King's advisors 2 days ago, and he said, you know, it's extraordinary. I've spent a lot of time in the United States. Your values in terms of family, your values in terms of being good, in terms of contributing to your fellow man, of honesty, of simple things. These are all the tenets of Islam. This is what we believe in, and sometimes we just don't see it through, you know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. But when we really get down to the basic culture and we go somewhere besides perhaps, you know, New York City in a hotel for a meeting and get out and meet Americans, we're very impressed that in fact we have a lot more in common than you would think.
Well, Mr. Ambassador, I want to thank you for the time you've given us and the great job that you're doing here in Morocco for us on behalf of the United States citizens. And we'll hopefully take this message all over the world. And if I can say what the children have all been saying, Morocco rocks.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming here, too. This is wonderful because this is a message that needs to be spread. And I appreciate your coming here to do it.
You bet. You bet.
Okay.
All right.